And we'll start this off with the third step prayer, Rob, if you would help us.
I certainly will. Page 63 of your big book, everybody. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always.
Thank you, Rob. Okay. We actually are on page 63, Rob. So let's get Andrew in there.
We started right
Um,
at the top.
no, we're not at the top. We're actually down on step 4 where we're getting ready to. It's whereas next we launched out on a course of vigorous action is where we are. Let's Let's do, we were now at step 3. We'll go ahead and do the third step prayer and then go through that real quick, just to kind of remind everybody about where we are and what we've completed. And then that'll get us set up for starting on the next step.
Okay, perfect. Michael, I'm not sure if you heard that. We're at page 63. Okay, brother? Okay. We were now at step 3. Many of us said to our Maker, as we understood him, God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. We thought well before taking this step, making sure we were ready, that we could at last abandon ourselves utterly to him.
Yep. And so with that prayer, or one that's very similar to that, we've want to clarify that it is important that you know that you don't have to do this prayer exactly. It can be something that's similar to it. And doing so commits you to step 3. And we also do this where we say it out loud, as Bill mentioned last week. Saying it to yourself is not the same thing as committing to it. Saying it out loud, especially to another person, and having done that, you are actually, completing the step, but also it sticks, and you're responsible for it. Um, so we've completed step 3, and we'll go on to the well, Rob.
Okay. Yeah, I put in the chat, and I'll keep putting different things in the chat if so keep that open if you can. And it was from Fitz Mayo, and it was from his story on page 215. I'm just going to read it because uh, you can save this, what's in the book, but it's not a must. Okay. The idea is that we voice it out loud. And the reason we say it out loud is because we can't take it back. I never said that. Well, it's out there. It's out in the universe. So we say it out loud. Okay. But here's the from page 215 from Fitz Mayo. And this is his third step prayer. God, here I am, and here are all my troubles. I've made a mess of things and can't do anything about it. You take me and all my troubles and do anything you want with me. Which is a beautiful uh, prayer also. And the
Mhm.
whole idea is that, we're giving ourselves to God. We found it very desirable to take this spiritual step with an understanding person, such as our wife, best friend, or spiritual advisor. But it is better to meet God alone than with one who might misunderstand. The wording was, of course, quite optional, so long as we express the idea, voicing it without reservation. This was only a beginning, though. If honestly and humbly made, an effort, sometimes a very great one, was felt at once.
Absolutely. And that's where we are going with this, is basically getting somebody that you trust and that is very, close to you and understands what you're doing and what you're going through, to say this particular prayer, or one that's very similar to it. The one that Fitzmayo came up with is also absolutely applicable. And doing that by voicing it out loud, you are committing to it in such a way that it's not it's hard to go back on. Rob?
Yeah, and I think it was Bill at one of his meetings, or I heard this at a meeting. If it is broken or spoken, it can't be taken back. And I thought that, you know what, simple, but so true. You break something, you can't take it back.
Right.
And once you've spoken it out loud, it is out there in the ether. So remember, if it is broken or spoken, it can't be taken back. Next, we launched out on a course of vigorous action, the first step of which is a personal house cleaning, which many of us had never attempted. The word decision was a vital and crucial step. It could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and to be rid of the things in ourselves which had been blocking us. Our liquor was but a symptom, so we had to get down to causes and conditions.
Yeah, we're going to get into this in some detail. We're now in an action step. So this is beyond steps one, two, and three, which are more of decisions and ideas that you're going to be committing to. This is an actual action step that you're going to actually do something. And on top of that, it is another one of those things within this program that you have to give yourself over to it completely. You have to be very thorough and you have to be absolutely honest with yourself. Otherwise, it doesn't work. If you hide things from yourself and others in this regard, then you are not doing a proper house cleaning, and it is going to continue to block your progress, and overall, it's going to be a problem going forward. Rob?
Yeah, and though our decision was a vital and crucial step, it could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and be rid of the things in ourselves which have been blocking us. Blocking us from what? Our higher power. The whole idea is that, you know, we start these steps, we launch out. Okay, launching is not we take our time, we go through it. Okay, it's a domino effect. Okay, we start doing one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, and we move on. Okay, quickly. Okay, we don't want to rush through everything and not do it properly, but we don't want to sit on our hands. Okay,
Mhm.
too many times in meetings, I hear people say, "Oh, my fourth step was so tough." They're scaring the living bejesus out of the new person. Okay. The idea is that we are going to get a spiritual experience. It is going to release us from the bondage of our past. We're going to move forward into a world, a fourth dimension that is better than we can ever imagine. Okay. Who wants to do a fourth step when all they hear is how difficult it is? How tough it was. Oh, I did 99 pages. This is when I first came into the fellowship, that's what I heard all the time. All my fourth step was 99 pages, and I couldn't believe it. It took me forever, and it was, the idea is a fourth step is going to release us and launch us out to a place that we can only imagine. So when you're talking to people, tell them how beautiful it is. What a great step it is to get rid of all these things, to put them down on paper and find out what has been holding me back from enjoying life. Because the whole thing is that I have not been enjoying life while I was drinking. The last bit of my drinking, I was not enjoying life. I was
Mhm.
isolated and I was miserable. And drinking just wasn't giving me any joy whatsoever. Okay. But when I quit drinking and got into the fellowship and got into the big book and started doing these things, I my wife used to say, "What happened to your smile? You never smile anymore." Now, as Michael can probably attest, I smile all the time now,
Yeah, you do
and I,
smile all
I
the
en-
time.
and I enjoy life. Okay, and that's what these steps are supposed to do. Okay, what does God want us? It says later in the book, God wants us to be joy, happy, and free. Okay, He doesn't want us in the bondage of self, being scared. Okay, they're giving us options. So please, when you're talking to newcomers, tell them what a great step this is. Steps one, two, and three are just steps where, yeah, okay, yeah, I can believe that there may be something out there. Okay. It's all, easy. First step, smash the idea that I can never safely take a drink.
Hmm.
Okay. But step four, now we have to do some work. It's an action step. Okay, we have to do the work. And nobody else can do it for us. Yeah, your sponsor can help you along, can give you sheets. I've got about 10 different worksheets for step four. Everybody's got worksheets to make things easier for the person. Everything we do is to try to make it easier for the person. Okay, not to make it a difficult step. So please tell them what a great step it is and how it showed you what was holding you back. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now.
Oh no, it's great. It's great, Rob.
Okay, we're at the top of page 64, everybody. Therefore, we started upon a personal inventory. This was step four. A business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. Take a commercial inventory as a fact-finding and a fact-facing process. It is an effort to discover the truth about the stock in trade. One object is to disclose damaged or unsaleable goods, to get rid of them promptly and without regret. If the owner of a business is to be successful, he cannot fool himself about values.
Sure can't. So there's some ideas here with regard to why we're doing step four. I'd like to go to page 72 at the very top real quick. And it says, we have been trying to get a new attitude, a new relationship with our creator, and to discover the obstacles in our path. And so what that we're doing here is finding out the damaged and unsaleable goods that we have in our life that we need to be rid of, and we want to get those out and on paper and out in the open so that we can deal with them and move on. So that's kind of what they're trying to say here. It's a disclosure of the things that have been wrong in your life, and we will actually get into it and again in a lot more detail coming up. But bottom line is this is really a fact-finding exercise, and one that is absolutely freeing once you get it done. Rob?
Yeah. So here we're talking about, self-manifest, self-manifested in various ways. Okay. How my self-will shows up in different situations. How I cause my own downfall, how I step on the toes of others and they retaliate and I wonder why, you know, because everything I do is perfect. Nah, far from it. Making a lot of mistakes, say a lot of things that I didn't mean to say, you know, thinking I was being humorous and other people, you know, take it seriously,
Yep.
not realizing that I'm just trying to be humorous. But, it's cutting it, it's putting people down. And today, it's one of the most important things. So I try to remember one of the greatest things I love about this program and what I learned from the book is pause. Pause before I say or do something that's going to hurt or upset somebody, to put them down or make fun of them. You know, our job is to be of action service to God and the people around us, page 77, to lift people up. Because a lot of people come into the fellowship and they're feeling down and broken. They've upset so many people, they don't know, they've lost family members, they've lost children. So many things can go on in their life that, they might not talk about. So we want to lift people up. You can do this. You can do this program. It's
Mhm.
not difficult. If you're having trouble, let me know. We'll walk through it together. Remember, that's what a sponsor's job is to do, is to help the person get through it, especially on the down times. Or the worst time, been in the fellowship for a short period of time, and I think, well, maybe I'm making too much of this. Maybe I'm not really an alcoholic. You know, that's where we lose a lot of people. They think, well, maybe I'm not really, it's the obsession of the mind, playing games. You're not a real alcoholic. Come on. You were just going through a tough time. Well, what makes an alcoholic? Allergy, phenomenal craving, and the obsession of the mind, where the mind tells you, go ahead, take a drink. Remember, the melody's job and the obsession is to make you take that first drink. Once you take that first drink, they've done their job, phenomenal craving takes over.
Yep.
So keep that in mind. And the other thing I wanted to, we're supposed to get rid of damaged or unsaleable goods. Okay, what are the things that have been causing me grief? Causing me problems in my life. Fear is a huge one. Ran on fear for years, thinking, you know what? I don't want to go to this place because there'll be too many people and I can't control the situation. It scares me. So, what do I do now? God, take away this fear so that I can enjoy myself, so that I can go and add value, so that I can just enjoy life. I'm feeling anxiety. Why am I feeling anxiety? I don't know. I used to go to work sometimes and think, today's going to be a tough day. I'm going to get in trouble for something. I don't know what, but it's going to be a bad day. And I never understood why I felt that. It would be in the pit of my stomach that something bad is going to happen. Well, I never found out until later on that people would say, well, that's anxiety, Rob. That's anxiety. And what do I do today? God, take this anxiety away. I don't know why I'm feeling like this. I know you don't want me to feel this way. I don't want to feel this way. Take this away so that I can enjoy the day, so I can be a part. And you know what? Remember, the whole idea about having a higher power is that we are no longer playing God. We are his child. He is the director. We are the actor. We follow the directions. And we always ask first thing in the morning, God, what would you have me do? How can I be of best service to you? Well, I'm going off on a little bit too far. Okay. Resentment is the number one offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. From it stems all forms of spiritual disease, where we have been not only mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, or principles with whom we were angry. We asked ourselves why we were angry. In most cases, it was found that our self-esteem, our pocketbooks, our ambitions, our personal relations, including sex, were hurt or threatened. So we were sore. We were burned up.
Resentment. It's a big one. And when they say the number one offender, they mean it. And it does, in fact, destroy more alcoholics than anything else. It is a deal killer if you're not able to actually get those resentments out and in the open and face them and look at it from the standpoint of asking your higher power, tapping into that inner strength, and working towards eliminating those resentments for the other people and or things that you may have resentments for. It is a big one. We have several things that are affected by resentments. It does or that resentments affect, and that is one, our self-esteem, two, our pocketbooks, three, our ambitions, four, our personal relationships, five, including sex, and we haven't gotten there yet, but our security is also threatened with these resentments that we have. It is absolutely imperative that you actually get those resentments down on paper, really look at them, really think about them, tap into that higher power, like I said, and get that inner strength and actually face them, get them dealt with and out and done. It is absolutely necessary in order to have an effective spiritual moment. Rob?
Yeah, we were burned up. We were seeing red. We were angry. We're transferring blame. We don't take any of the blame. We deflect it back on everybody else. So it's your fault, not mine. I didn't do anything wrong. There was an analogy that I heard somebody say is that, and they were at a meeting, and the meeting was about to start, and they thought, oh, you know what, I want to get a cup of coffee before the meeting starts. So I've only got a second. So the guy gets up from his chair, and as he goes to get in front of the to get his coffee, he hits another guy, knocks him over.
Mm.
And instead of saying I'm sorry, and he just got his coffee and sat back down. Then he's sitting there thinking about it, thinking, you know what? Should I apologize to that guy or not? No, you know what? I think that guy was trying to trip me.
Hmm.
No, can you imagine that? The guy's trying to trip me. I'm just trying to get my car. Just, you know, a normal person would just help the person up, apologize, okay? Get the other person a coffee, hand it to them. But you know what? Alcoholics, we twist things around. That person was trying to trip me. And they're transferring all the blame onto that other person. And we do that with a lot of things. Like, resentment, I put it in the chat for everybody, is to refeel. And the more we refeel it, the less of a part we play in it. Okay. Resentment, a persistent feeling of ill will and suppressed anger caused by a sense of injustice, insult, injury, offense, or wrongdoing. The word originates from French ressentir, re-intense, prefix, and sentir, to feel. A little bit in depth. Resent is to be angry about, bear a grudge, to feel injured or insulted, to feel strongly again, or relive. We relive it over in our mind until we play such a small part. We're at the top of page 65, everybody. On our grudge list, we set opposite each name our injuries. Was it our self-esteem, our security, our ambitions, our personal or sex relations, which had been interfered with?
Yep. And on our grudge list, we set up opposite each name our injuries. So that's important that you are doing so. We were usually as definite as this example, and we'll kind of talk about this example a little bit. It's one of many ways that you have as an option to actually execute your step four, and in doing so, you can ask yourself three questions. I'm resentful. Who am I resentful at? And that would be the names that you put down. What is the cause of that resentment? And what is the effect it's having on me personally and privately? Important note, this is not this is not finger pointing. This is not an opportunity for you to drag somebody else through the mud and put them in there and talk about their faults and their problems and their reasons for why you might have a resentment for them. You do what is having a personal thing for yourself, only yourself and not the other person, only yourself and not the other person. Rob?
Yeah, and I want to throw out another analogy. They talk about resentments. Resentments is the number one offender. Okay, it cuts us off from God. And the analogy that I was given is it's like the gutter in your house. What happens is that water goes into the gutter, goes into the downspout, goes out the downspout, and it's gone. But what happens is that, especially here in Canada, the leaves fall from the tree, and what happens is they start falling into the gutter. Water goes into the gutter, grabs a few leaves, and it goes into the downspout. Okay, one or two leaves isn't a big deal. But what happens is that the downspout gets packed with all these leaves. And what happens is that the water can't flow through it anymore. And what happens is that the water backs up. Here in Canada, it freezes, turns to ice, and what happens is it damages, okay, the gutters. So, how do we fix this? Well, like resentments that have accumulated, we reach in and we grab them. We grab a few leaves, a few resentments, and we get rid of them. And we keep doing that until the water can flow through. That is like the spiritual. Okay? We're going to get rid of all these resentments that we are carrying so that God can flow through. I found that a great analogy. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, you can forget about it. If you liked it, you can use it. We were usually as definite as this example, and we'll go through this. I'm resentful at the cause, and it affects my. So there's the three columns. In the chat, I put in a little sheet there, and you can download it if you want it. And it just is, it's this example right here. Okay, so I'm resentful at Mr. Brown. The cause, his attention to my wife, and it affects my sex relations and my self-esteem. I'm scared, fear. Mr. Brown told my wife of my mistress. What's it affect? Sex relations, self-esteem, fear. What's going to happen? Is my wife going to leave me? I'm resentful at Mr. Brown. Brown may get my job at the office. It affects my self-esteem, fear. Well, Mr. Brown is certainly playing a big part on these. Now, some people have said that this might be Bill Wilson's fourth step. Don't know if it is or not. There's no proof one way or the other. Okay, I'm resentful at Mrs. Jones. She's a nut. She stumped me. She committed her husband for drinking. He's my friend. She's a gossip. Okay, affects my personal relationship, my self-esteem, fear. Okay, is my wife going to see what Mrs. Jones did and do the same thing? So, in my personal relationship, my best drinking buddy is now gone. Okay, I'm resentful at my employer. The cause? Unreasonable, unjust, overbearing, threatens to fire me for drinking and padding my expense account. Affects my self-esteem, fear. I might lose my job, my security. And I'm resentful at my wife. The cause? Misunderstands and nags, like Brown wants to put house in her name. Affects my pride, personal sex relations, and security.
Bring up to you, Rob, pride would be the number 7 thing that it affects, just so that you have all of the ones that are in the book. So you've got, again, your self-esteem, your pocketbook, your ambition, personal relationship, including sex, and your security and your pride. It's big. So that's why this is so important to do a thorough and honest job of it. Get everything out that you've got a resentment for, why you have a resentment for them, and what it affects how it affects you personally. So it's an excellent exercise. I can't tell you how good it feels to get it out and get it on paper and review it. So, Rob, turn it over to you.
Nothing counted but thoroughness and honest.
Right.
Honest. And that's what it's all about. The fourth step is we're supposed to be thorough and honest. We do the best we can. Now, will something come up later on that you forgot to put on the fourth step? Maybe. That's why we have the 10th and 11th step, to catch these things, and when they crop up, we deal with them. Okay. But we're going to try to get rid of everything that we can remember from the past. Okay. Put it on paper. We went back through our lives. Nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. When we were finished, we considered it carefully. The first thing apparent was that this world and its people were often quite wrong. To conclude that others were wrong was as far as most of us ever got. The usual outcome was that people continued to wrong us, and we stayed sore. Sometimes it was remorse, and then we were sore at ourselves. But the more we fought and tried to have our own way, the worse matters got. As in war, the victor only seemed to win. Our moments of triumph were short-lived.
Yeah, you've got to master these resentments. Step four is not about the mechanics. Kind of emphasize that it's about the experience you get from it and the release that happens as a result. The um, this is also pointing out that don't point the finger at other people. It's not about the other person in the sense that what they have done wrong and what how you feel like that they have wronged you in manner. It is just how you have had a problem with, and then what the effects are of you. Rob?
Yeah, I love the fact here to conclude that others were wrong was as far as most of us ever got. It's always somebody else's fault. Everything that ever went wrong in my life was always somebody else's fault. You know, it wasn't me. I was a little angel, you know? But when you look back on it, well, what did I do? What did I do to cause Michael to be mean to me that one day? What did I say to Greg that caused him to, not want to talk to me anymore? What did I do? Was there anything that I did? Yeah, we have to look back. We have to be thorough. We have to be honest. Where did I step on the toes of my fellows and they've retaliated? And we really have to be honest about it. Okay. It's a beautiful thing to get rid of all these things, all the things that have been eating our lunch. I used to go to a meeting and the guy used to always say, what's eating your lunch? What's getting all the nutrients out of the meals that you're eating? Because you're not getting them,
Right.
and it made perfect sense. Yeah, I'm eating, but I'm not getting anything out of it. I'm living my life, but I'm not getting any joy. Let's get some joy out of life by getting rid of these resentments that are holding us back. Okay? Stop playing God. I love here. Our moments of triumph were short-lived. It is plain that a life which includes deep resentment leads only to futility and unhappiness. To the precise extent that we permit these, do we squander the hour that might have been worthwhile. But with the alcoholic, whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, this business of resentment is infinitely grave. We found that it is fatal. For when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the spirit. The insanity of alcohol returns, and we drink again. And with us, the drink is to die.
Yeah, this is a serious thing. This is something that we want to try to emphasize of getting these resentments out and rid of them. You don't want them taking up space in your head, rent free. You um, disliking or hating of someone or something. It's kind of things that keep you up at night, and it's important to be able to identify them, get them down on paper, and really dig in and figure out what it is that you can do to be rid of those resentments. If you don't, you're going to find that you're not going to have any joy in life, or the joy that you do have is going to be limited at best, and you're going to find yourself back drinking again in most cases. Certainly, if you've not drinking and you've got these resentments, it's still a miserable way to live. It's not fun at all. Rob?
Yeah, it talks about here maintenance and growth. Some people talk about growth steps, some talk about maintenance. If you think about a garden, if we don't maintain a garden, okay, weeds will take over and there'll be no new growth. So what we have to do is we have to maintain, okay, the garden, get rid of the weeds, okay, get them out because they'll choke off any new growth. Okay. So remember this. Maintenance and growth for a spiritual experience. Okay, we're always trying to grow. Okay, we don't want to just maintain where we are. Okay, we're always trying to grow. And sometimes we feel like we're stagnating,
Hmm.
and that's just before growth usually happens. So remember, we're always trying to grow. Okay. We'll never be perfect. We're always going to make mistakes. Okay. We understand that. God understands that, you know, but, give it time. And then, keep maintaining, keep praying, keep talking. Remember, a relationship is developed not by saying good morning to somebody and then good night. A relationship is talking all day long. Okay. God, thank you for that. Thank you for looking after me today when I couldn't look after myself. Thank you for giving me the strength to, talk to Leo. Thank you, okay, for just giving me this beautiful day. Thank you for giving me an incredible wife and incredible children that are healthy and happy. These are things that we want to, we want to build a relationship. And a relationship is not just, saying good morning and good night. It's talking throughout the day. Okay. Hold on to your question, Michael. We'll get to it at the end. Okay. If we were to live, we had to be free of anger. The grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. They may be the dubious luxury of normal men, but for alcoholics, these things are poison.
Yeah, this is an important note here. We had to be free of anger. It is so important to get that out and deal with it and get past it. It's imperative to your success. You don't want to be this angry person living in life. And some people may be able to deal with it, may be able to have, their moments. And we're all human, so we're all going to have moments where we feel anger, and but we have steps in place later down the line in order to be able to deal with that in the moment and be able to take care of it. But the idea here is that for the alcoholic, it is absolutely important to get those things that you are infinitely angry about out on paper, and again dealt with, so that you can move on from them. Rob?
Yeah. What does anger lead to? Of resentment. We're trying to get rid of all these resentments, but anger just brings up more. So it's going to tell us on the next page, we avoid retaliation or argument. Why? Because it doesn't work. Okay. Leo has his point of view. I have my point of view. We're not always going to see eye to eye, but I have to respect Leo's views. Okay. I don't have to agree with them, but I have to respect his views. Okay. Or just let him have his views. He's allowed to think differently than me. One of the greatest things in this book is your own conception of God. It was brilliant. I don't have to think the same. I don't have to have the same God as Bobby. He can have a different conception of what his higher power is than what I have. And that's fine. Doesn't make him right and me wrong. Okay? And that's what it's all about, is we avoid retaliation or argument. Okay? Leo, I agree to disagree. Because I don't want to build up any resentment. Okay? Because anger brings resentment because we think it over and, oh, how can Leo think that way? Oh, he's crazy. And then I get a resentment, and then I'm right back to what happens is my downspout of my gutters is starting to fill up again with leaves. And therefore I'm going to cut myself off from God. Okay. It doesn't work. Okay. We turn back to the list, for it held the key to the future. We were prepared to look at it from an entirely different angle. We began to see that the world and its people really dominated us. And that state of wrongdoing of others, fancied or real, had power to actually kill. How could we escape? We saw that these resentments must be mastered. But how? We could not wish them away any more than alcohol.
Yeah, so we're in this we're realizing that these resentments have a control over us, and you have to look at it completely differently. It's as if you're having um, somewhat of an out of body experience by looking at yourself, looking at these resentments, and owning them, and dealing with them. They It's interesting how doing this exercise makes you realize how much that resentments truly do dominate you, and how they affect your affect and your attitude. And doing so is well, and that attitude is what we're trying to change. We're trying to get you to um, re own the resentment, and then get some release from it, and be able to um, um, master them, and um, you know realizing that the other person might be as sick as you are or more, is also a great revelation, and understanding that that's their issue and problem, not yours. It's hard to do sometimes, because you feel like you need to really point the finger at somebody. But bottom line is that in order to really get this, you've got to, again, own them and master them. Rob?
Yeah, I love this line. We saw that these resentments must be mastered, but how? It's a question. Are we expected to answer it? No, because Bill's going to answer it for us right now. And here we go, bottom of page 66, everybody. This was our course. We realized that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick, that we did not like their symptoms and the way these disturbed us. They, like ourselves, were sick too. We asked God to help us show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. When a person offended, we said to ourselves, this is a sick man. How can I be helpful to him? God save me from being angry. Thy will be done.
Absolutely. And this is known as the step 4 prayer. It's one that you are asking for the strength to help another person. Well, you're asking your higher power in order to help this other person, and how you can be helpful to them, instead of stoking the coals and creating a fire. You're trying to put water on the fire, on the flames, and find yourself cooling things off, as opposed to heating things up, as an analogy. So I think it's also important here too is that one of the things that we make an analogy for is, what kind of um, accommodation are we going to make for a sick person? If we are willing to do that for a sick person, then we should be willing to do that for ourselves, with other people that we have resentments for, and that they have their own problems in the mix. So this is this is something I think a lot of people, once they grasp it, it's a big aha moment, and it really does make a difference in your overall attitude going forward. Rob?
Yeah, it's a huge realignment of my thinking. Instead of being self-centered, now I'm trying to think of the other person. How can I best be helpful to them? They too, like me, were sick, you know? And I'm trying to, and the next part I really enjoy. We avoid retaliation or argument. We wouldn't treat sick people that way. If we do, we destroy our chance of being helpful. We cannot be helpful to all people. Again, we cannot be helpful to all people, but at least God will show us how to take a kindly and tolerant view of each and every one.
Yeah, retaliation. pushing back, being defensive, is all of the ingredients of creating a problem and having that resentment not only take root but grow, and that's a big problem. So the idea here is to avoid retaliation or argument, thinking in terms of how you might treat a sick person. That's what you want to do, is to find yourself being helpful. And if you do fight back, it destroys any opportunity you have in order to be rid of the resentment and to, in some cases here, make amends, or I guess in most cases, make amends to this other person, even though you've got elements there that you know are their problems. You basically ask your higher power for that guidance in order to help you um, help them. Rob?
Yeah. Now here's what the promise that I love from this paragraph. We cannot be helpful to all people, but at least God will show us how to take a kindly and tolerant view of each and every one. Okay, there's going to be times where people don't want your help. They just don't care for you, and for whatever reason, and you can't be helpful. It says right here, we can't be helpful to everybody. I love that, because when I first came, and you find God and everything, you think that you got to be helpful to everybody. But here it's telling us we can't be helpful to everybody. It takes a huge weight off our shoulders. Some people don't want our help. So be it. Okay. For some reason, they don't like the way my hair looks in the morning, or something, thank you, Michael. Welcome to the club, the hair club for men, or the lack of hair club for men, but we can't be helpful to everybody. Okay. But we try our best to be, patient, kindly, tolerant of each and everybody. You can have your views, I can have my views. Okay. We show respect for each other. Referring to our list again, putting out of our minds the wrongs others had done, we resolutely looked for our own mistakes. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened? Though a situation had not been entirely our fault, we tried to disregard the other person involved entirely. Where were we to blame? The inventory was ours, not the other man's. When we saw our faults, we listed them. We placed them before us in black and white. We admitted our wrongs honestly and were willing to set these matters straight.
So this is important, not the other person. It is about you individually and personally. It is your faults, the things that you did and or have done that can have contributed to the problems that you're having. It's something as far as with some other person. Um, so at the beginning of doing a step 4, it's very easy to fall into that mode of pointing fingers. And it's great to have an effective sponsor that can actually help guide you in the beginning so that you get the overall gist of what we're trying to do. And then you work on being very, very thorough and complete with the utmost of honesty. It's probably one of the best soul searching activities that you'll go through if you commit to doing it right. Rob?
Yeah, and now it does not say our part. I was in Bill S., who's here today and will be speaking in a few minutes. I was in his meeting yesterday, and it does not say here our part. Okay, we listed our wrongs. Okay, it's not I have a part, you have a part. It's what did I do to set this ball in motion? What did I do? What was my mistake? Though the situation had not been entirely my fault, or our fault. We try to disregard the other person entirely. It's not, well, I take 40% of the blame and I give 60% of the blame to Bobby. No, I take 100%. What did I do? What was my fault? What did I do? And that's the way we have to look at it. Notice the word fear is bracketed alongside the difficulties with Mr. Brown. Mrs. Jones, the employer and the wife. The short word somehow touches about every aspect of our lives. It was an evil and corroding thread. The fabric of our existence was shot through with it. It set in motion trains of circumstances which brought us misfortune we felt we didn't deserve. But did not we ourselves set the ball rolling? Sometimes we think fear ought to be classed with stealing. It seems to cause more trouble.
Sure does. Fear is a big one. It's a result of these resentments, and it when it affects your self-esteem, your security, and your overall feelings. This fear of losing is a big one. Fears are and there's three types. It's lose something that I have, not get something that I want, or you will find out what I did. So it really does touch a lot of areas. So I think with that, Rob, let's go ahead and bring Bill in. We do have some more to talk about on fear. What we'll do is we'll basically start back at the bottom of page 67 there the next time. But if you want, we'll bring Bill in and have him take it away.
Yeah, hi, this is Bill from New Jersey. Thanks a lot, guys. Good job today. This is like where we really get down to the meat and potatoes of this program. This is when we start doing something. This is when we have to sit down and really look at ourselves. And we went through step 4 today, and step 4 is a step that a lot of people, they shy away from and try to get out of doing it. And I highly recommend when you get to step 4, go through it with your sponsor, because it's so easy to get this stuff all messed up. It's a lot better if you have somebody walk you through it and explain it to you. And they have these worksheets. They can be a great help to somebody going through this for the first time. If your sponsor doesn't want to use the worksheets, that's fine. Also, you can write this stuff out on a blank piece of paper. However your sponsor tells you to do it, I go along with whatever somebody's sponsor says. Some people like worksheets, some people don't. Some people use blank papers, whatever, however you want to do it. And he's just giving us some instruction here on how to do it. He gave us a diagram here. He showed us 3 columns in the diagram on what we're supposed to write down, how we're supposed to write it down. And then when we got over here to page 67, he gives us the instructions for the 4th column on what we're supposed to do. And like was mentioned, it doesn't say anything about looking for our part. It says we're supposed to look for our own mistakes. We're supposed to look for our own faults or our own wrongs. If I have a part of this, that means somebody else has a part of it. When it comes to a resentment, I own the resentment 100%. The resentment comes from me. It's my reaction to what somebody else did. They didn't do the resentment. I did the resentment. So if I want to get rid of it, I have to look at what I did. I don't have to look at what they did. Whatever they did doesn't count. Well, I'm just looking for my mistakes, and my mistakes are listed as selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened. And that's the stuff that caused me to get a resentment. So this is what I have to look at. And when you do this, the faster you do it, the less you're going to have to write. If you take years and years and years before you get into the 4th step and do it, you're going to build up more and more resentments over that course of time, and you're going to have more stuff to write. The quicker you do this, the less stuff you're going to have to write, and the easier it's going to be. And when you do it, it's a good idea to hide your 4th step. If you live with someone else, I've heard horror stories that people's spouses found their 4th step, and they had all kinds of stuff written on there that they shouldn't have done, and So you could just imagine what happened. So either hide it or use some kind of code. So you don't want to write down stuff that you did, especially if you're married and you're living with somebody. If your spouse finds it, and depending on what you did, you could cause more trouble for yourself. And so basically, we just want to we don't want to cause trouble. We want to stay out of trouble. And it's a good idea to ask for help when you're going through this process, and not just ask your sponsor for help. Ask the guy upstairs for help. So that you do this right and you get it right. And when you write something down, don't edit it and don't try to take it off of there. You wrote something down for a reason. It's a good idea to go over it with your sponsor. If your sponsor says that's not important, you take it off of there. That's between you and your sponsor. But once you write something down, leave it there and wait for until you get through the process. When you're doing the fifth step, you're going to use your fourth step for the fifth step. So this is a real important part of the book here, because most people try to skip over there doing their fourth step. And if you skip over your fourth step, you're not going to be able to do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You're going to skip over all the action steps in the program. So it's not a good idea to skip over anything. That's pretty much all I got. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks so much, Bill.
All right, let's go ahead and do the serenity prayer, and then we'll open things up.
Serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.